Hello students, today we are going to study elements of network. The first element is activity. A project can be broken down into various jobs in the form of operation and processes necessary for its completion. Each of these operation or processes consuming time or resources is called an activity. It means that in a project all the operations as well as process which will consume time and resources are known as activity. Just like pile foundation preparation, excavation work, concreting work, they all are the activities because they will consume time and resources. Activity are denoted by an arrow. The tail of the arrow signifies the start of activity and the arrowhead its termination. Now generally the activity is shown with the help of arrow like this. The head of the arrow will signifies the termination of the activity which is shown here, and the tail of the activity signifies the start of the activity, that is the tail of the arrow signifies the start of the activity. Generally, the description of activity is written above the arrow which is shown here, whether it is for concreting work, excavation work or something else, and its duration is shown in the middle underneath. Now the duration of the activity is shown at the bottom of the arrow, that is here. Now length of arrow has no significance in the network analysis. In network analysis, the length of the arrow has no significance. Now types of activities. The first one will be the serial activity. These are activities which are performed one after the other sequentially. It means that in serial activities we will perform the activity one after the other in a sequential manner which is shown here. That is, activity B will start when activity A is finished. Now the second one will be the parallel activities or concurrent activities. These are the activities which can be performed simultaneously and are independent of each other. It means that we can perform the parallel activities simultaneously which is shown here, that is B, C and D. The next element of network is event. An event is an instant of time or state at which some specific milestone has been achieved, that is completion of preceding activity or start of succeeding activity. It means that event will always represent the starting of the activity or the completion of an particular activity. An event does not consume any time or resources. Events are represented by nodes. The shape of nodes can be as follows, that is circular shape, square shape, rectangular shape, oval shape. So we can represent the event with any of these particular shapes, but generally the circular shape is used for the representation of event. Basic properties of events. It denotes the start or completion of an activity which we had already seen. It denotes significant point in a project, that is control point. Now if we have to see the event of a particular activity, then it will be represented like this, that is the activity and that is known as event. Now event 1 is known as the starting of this activity and event 2 is known as the termination or completion of this activity. It denotes instant or a point of time, therefore does not consume any time or resources. Now types of events. The first one is tail event. So we will prepare a diagram like this here, that is the event 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now the definition of tail event is shown here. An event which marks the beginning of an activity is called the tail event or preceding event. It means that the event which will shows the beginning of a particular activity is known as tail event. Now here event 1 is the tail event for activity A as well as for activity B. Event 2 is the tail event for activity C and event 3 is the tail event for activity D. If a particular event represents the start of a project, it is called as initial event. Now, in this diagram, event 1 will represent the start of the project, so it is known as initial event of the project. Now the next one will be the head event. An event which marks the completion of an activity is called the head event or succeeding event. In this diagram, event 2 is the head event for activity A, event 3 is the head event for activity B, event 4 is the head event for activity C and activity D. If a particular event represents the end of a project, it is called as the end event. Now here, event 4 will represent the end of a project, so it is known as end event or final event of the project. Now the next one will be the dual role event. If an event acts as the tail event for some activity and as the head event for some other activity, it is called as dual role event. Here, event 2 will be the head event for activity A and it is tail event for activity C. So, it is known as dual role event. In a network diagram, all the events other than initial and final events are dual role event. It means that in a particular network, all the events except initial and final events are known as dual role events. Now the next will be the dummy activity. It is a type of activity in the network which neither consumes any time nor resources. Now suppose that we have to draw a dummy activity like this, which will be represented by dash arrow always. Now this dummy activity will never consume any time or resources. It is also known as artificial activity. A dummy activity is represented by a dash arrow and identified by the terminal node or event which it connects. Now the function of dummies are: dummy maintains the logic of network diagram. It means that if in this network, if there is a limitation that activity D will start when activity A and B both are finished. So we have to join node number 3 with node number 2 so that activity A will finish at this event so that D will start from this event. So it is used for maintaining the logic of network diagram. Dummy keeps the numbering system of the network unique. That is all about the elements of network. Thank you, students.